Imagine the blue lights of a squad car painting your suburban driveway at 7 a.m. because your trash can sat out 2 hours too long. Now imagine the woman who called it and has been wiring rent checks to your bank account every month for 3 years. The first envelope appeared on my door like a parking ticket from hell. Violation of Section 4.2, Aesthetic Standards, it read in blood red ink. Patricia Ellison, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, had decided my mailbox was non-compliant beige and my front yard herb garden looked too urban. I stared at the paper. Then at the perfectly identical beige boxes on every other house on Maple Lane. And I did what any sane person would do after moving to Austin suburbs for peace and quiet. I set it on the kitchen counter and went back to my coffee. That was my first mistake. Patricia didn't like being ignored. 3 days later another notice arrived. This time citing my Toyota parked at an improper angle in my own driveway. The fine, $250. The threat, further noncompliance may result in lien placement and possible foreclosure proceedings. I laughed out loud in my empty living room. Foreclosure? On the house my aunt had owned free and clear since 1987? But Patricia kept smiling that tight. Church lady smile at the monthly HOA meetings she held in the community center. The one with the plastic ficus tree and the sign that read Pride and Property Values. She'd stand at the podium in her pastel cardigans, voice dripping artificial sweetener, and say things like, "We're not being difficult. Neighbors. We're protecting our investment." Meanwhile, her own executive estate at the end of the cul-de-sac, the 6-bedroom McMansion with the 3-car garage and the illegal short-term rental listings on Airbnb, somehow never got a single violation notice. I stayed quiet at first. Watched. Took notes. Downloaded the county appraisal district records on my lunch break. That's when the first little laugh escaped me. The HOA had been formed 2 years earlier with exactly 11 members. My property wasn't on the list. Never had been. My aunt's trust documents were crystal clear, no covenants. No restrictions. No authority whatsoever. Patricia's little club was legally as binding on me as a lemonade stand's "No Boys Allowed" sign. Still, I let her keep sending the letters. Let the fines pile up in a drawer. Let the neighborhood Facebook group fill with her carefully worded posts about maintaining standards and those who refuse to participate. The rumors started exactly as she planned. Jordan's the one bringing down values, probably some city transplant, you know the type. I smiled when I read them. Smiled wider when I discovered the second bombshell buried in the same public records. The trust my aunt created in 1987 didn't just own my modest ranch house. It owned 4 properties on Maple Lane. One of them was 1425 Willow Creek Drive, the $1.2 million model home Patricia had been renting for 38 months at $4,800 a month. Every single rent payment had been depositing straight into the trust account I now controlled. She had been paying me to let her terrorize me. I still didn't say a word. I just started a private group chat called Willow Creek Reality Check. 12 neighbors joined within 48 hours. They sent screenshots of their own violation notices, $150 for a wreath left up 3 days past Christmas, $300 for a visible garden hose, $500 for a basketball hoop that disrupted curb appeal. One elderly widow had been fined for feeding birds because wildlife attracts rodents. Another guy got cited for parking his work truck in his driveway on weekends because commercial vehicles are prohibited. Patricia's mask slipped the day she cornered me at the mailbox. "Jordan. Sweetie," she cooed. Voice like honey over broken glass. "We really do want you to feel welcome here. But rules are rules. If you'd just join the association like everyone else." I looked her dead in the eye and said the first words I'd spoken to her in 6 weeks. "Patricia. I'm not joining anything that doesn't legally apply to me. And by the way, how's the short-term rental license coming along?" County records still show 0. Her smile froze. The hand holding the latest violation notice actually trembled. For 2 full seconds she looked like a woman who'd just realized the floor under her feet was made of wet cardboard. Then the mask snapped back. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she hissed. "I have connections." She did. She called code enforcement the next morning. Then the non-emergency police line. Then the city council members she played bridge with. Each time the story grew, I was hostile, I was threatening, I was destroying property values. The police showed up twice. Both times the officers left shaking their heads after I handed them the deed, the trust documents, and the stack of Patricia's violation notices. The sabotage started small. My sprinkler system mysteriously flooded the backyard at 3 a.m. My herb garden gnomes, plastic. Yes. But mine, disappeared overnight. Then her handyman's truck was caught on my new Ring camera at 2:14 a.m. Drain plug in hand. Sinking my fishing kayak in the driveway. That was the moment the laughter in my chest turned sharp. I filed the police report with a smile. The deputy read the footage timestamp. Looked at Patricia's house across the street. And actually muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." The community center meeting was scheduled for the last Thursday in October. Patricia billed it as Emergency Standards Review. She arrived in a power suit the color of bleached bone. Hair sprayed into submission. Carrying a 3-ring binder thick enough to stop bullets. She opened with her favorite line, "We are here to protect what we've built." I waited until she finished her PowerPoint about declining influences. Then I stood up. "Patricia," I said. Voice calm. "You sent me 18 violation notices in 90 days. You called the police on me for existing in my own yard. You tried to bribe a code enforcement officer. There's a body cam recording of the $200 envelope. But here's the part you missed." I clicked the projector. The trust documents filled the screen in letters large enough for the back row to read. "I own 1425, Willow Creek Drive. The house you've been renting. The house you've been running unlicensed Airbnb parties out of. The house whose lease you've violated 17 separate times. The room once so quiet you could hear the air conditioning click on." I slid the eviction notice across the table. 30 days. Clean. Legal. Devastating. Patricia's face did something I'll never forget. First the confident smirk. Then the flicker of recognition. Then the full color collapse into panic, eyes wide. Mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. Color draining until she looked like printer paper. She tried to speak. Nothing came out except a strangled, "This is harassment." The room erupted. Not in anger. In laughter. The kind of laughter that comes when the bully finally trips over her own rules. She stormed out still shouting about lawsuits she couldn't afford. 2 weeks later the U-Haul appeared. She left behind 3 months of unpaid rent. A mountain of code violations. In a neighborhood that finally breathed. We dissolved the old HOA that same month. Replaced it with a voluntary courtesy committee whose only power is suggesting. Never fining. We planted a community vegetable garden where Patricia used to ticket people for dandelions. The kids play basketball in driveways again. And every spring we hold a cookout where someone always tells the story of the HOA president who tried to evict her own landlord. Florence. The 87-year-old widow who once got fined for birdseed. Raises her glass every time. To knowing who actually owns the damn street, she says. We all cheer. So here's the question that still keeps the group chat alive at 2 a.m. Patricia was only trying to protect property values. Does that make her right? Or was she just another Karen who forgot the most important rule of all, read the deed before you start swinging the gavel? Drop your verdict below. HOA president or homeowner, who is really in the wrong?